Welcome. Today I'm going to be taking you on a tour of the castle, which is the oldest building on the Brandeis campus. And you're very lucky to be getting this tour now because shortly they're going to start demolishing parts of the castle to make way for new student housing beginning in 2017. So the outside of the castle is actually fairly close to what it looked like when it was completed in 1941, but the interior has undergone extensive renovations based on the different needs of the university as time went on. So this castle was the vision of Dr. John Hall Smith, who was the founder of Middlesex College of Surgery and Medicine, which in 1928 relocated from Cambridge to Waltham. Dr. Smith wanted the college to be an emblem and a symbol for the community, so he chose to build it on Boston Rock, which is the highest point on the campus. No one is quite sure why he decided to build a castle, but there are plenty of theories. Some say it was a nod to the great European tradition of schools like Oxford and Cambridge. Others say it was a way to prove to the American Medical Association that Middlesex was worthy of accreditation. And then there are others who think it was built as a sort of fortress against the negative opinions of many who doubted Middlesex's policy of allowing women, Jews, and other minorities to apply and attend to its medical and veterinary schools. And then there are others who say that it's because of the large availability of stone in the region. Farmers used to use the stones to mark out the differences in their fields. Still others say it was just pure women fancy, which isn't that hard to believe when you look at all the colored cement and other decorations in the castle. There's a theory that the castle is a 1/3 exact replica of a castle in Ireland or Scotland, and that Dr. Smith went to visit it and asked the owner if he could buy it. And when the owner refused, he decided to build it himself. Unfortunately, that story is not true at all. But it is true that Dr. Smith designed and built the castle himself, even though he wasn't an architect. Construction on the castle started in 1928, which coincided with the Great Depression. So Dr. Smith used a lot of local materials and local labor to build the castle. So you could say that the castle was the start of a trend in sustainable development that Brandeis continues to this day. We can start our tour here in the courtyard, which used to hold lots of events. In Brandeis's heyday, right here, they would put out tables. You can see that the castle is actually a collection of buildings that are connected by walkways. And the original intent was so that students could go from one building to any other building in the castle without ever having to go outside. So let's orient ourselves. Starting with the building on your right, we have the imaginatively named Tower A, Tower B, Building C, Tower D, Building E, and Section F, right along here. Towers A and B will survive the renovations, but the rest of the castle will come down. So despite the alphabetical naming, Tower D was actually the first to be constructed. And this bottom round area here, that used to be dissection rooms, and then when Brandeis purchased it, they converted them into dorm space. And then up there on the second floor, that's the castle commons. There were also microscope rooms, chemistry labs, and as you can see from this picture, Middlesex College was unusual for its time because it admitted women, Jews, and minorities to the college. So we can say that the social justice roots of Brandeis go all the way back to the first building on campus. Behind me is Building E, and there were more labs and classrooms in the days of Middlesex there. Unfortunately, Middlesex College wasn't doing well financially, and in 1946 it was bought by the founders of what would eventually become Brandeis. So interestingly, Albert Einstein was among that group, but he later took himself out of the project due to differences of opinion about the direction the college should go. So this is Section F, and it's interesting because it's both a hallway and a reading room. So all along one side there is a bookshelf, and then this side where the windows are is in front of each of the windows there's a table with a lamp where students could read. It also has a really nice mosaic ceiling and there's even a mosaic portrait of Dr. Smith himself. Unfortunately today Brandeis just uses this area for storage. So behind me over here is the C building, and this used to be the histology, pathology, and bacteriology labs, as well as other classroom space. And now they've converted it to dorms, and it houses, the whole castle building houses about 120 sophomores. And we ran into some of them earlier on the tour, and here's what they had to say. Okay guys, so you live here in the castle, right?
Yes.
How is it? What do you think?
I like living here. It's pretty charming. It's definitely old. It has its faults, but like our room is huge, so it's really nice.
Yeah, it's sort of magical in its own way, but it's also, you know, it's got its quirks.
So would it be okay if I could go, if you guys showed me your room real quick?
I don't know if you want
Not
to
the room, but like, you know,
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Sorry, I know it's so
No,
weird.
it's okay. I don't think you want to see it. I get you. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, her room is nice and it has the sink in it.
Oh, okay. Sure, yeah, I'd love that.
Well, our room is over.
My room is
Yeah, our room is... It's midterm season, so...
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Well, let's show this. So we always love this, like the drawing of the castle.
Nice. So what are some of those quirks?
There are secret parts of Castle, like there's this graffiti wall somewhere in Castle that like everyone tries to find by their senior year, but like we can't find it.
I mean, if you want to go in, you can.
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
mean,
You don't
yeah.
have to.
It's okay, I just want
So if you just want to see like
Oh, yeah.
it's a triangle.
It's like a
triangular.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's messy though.
Yeah. That's okay. Everybody's room in college is just always a mess.
And, so yeah, so
So, what do you hope that they'll do when they, they tear down this whole section? What do you think they're going to do with it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sort of hoping they build something that sort
it's
of.
similar,
Yeah.
has this castle-like feel. I mean, the castle's iconic. On all tours and stuff, we always say, like, Castle is Brandeis's dorm. This is why people come here. And even if, like, you don't want to live here by the time you get to sophomore year, when you can, it's, like, something that's magical and that's talked about.
Yeah.
And getting rid of that kind of gets rid of something that's so Dijon. So I use that word all the time.
Hope it's accurate.
It is the best word.
Then we do bake here.
So behind me is Tower A, and that housed the administration and pharmacology buildings. So one thing you should notice as we look around the castle is that each of the different buildings have a very different style for the trimmings. And part of the reason for that is because the whole complex was built between 1928 and 1941, with different parts being built as money became available. So in the early years, the decorations were more frugal, and as more money became available, they became a little more opulescent. But Dr. Smith was always a bit eccentric about his decorations anyway, and one of his favorite things to do was include china plates, like this one, and you can find them all over the castle. So in addition to all his unique decorating, Dr. Smith also had a unique method of construction. So we'll take you over here and show you how he did it. What they would do is they would build up a wooden frame along the whole wall, and then they would fill it with rocks just loosely packed, and then they would pour in wet cement. And they'd let it sit for a few hours, but not until it was completely set. And then they would pull the wooden wall away, and then they would just chip away at the cement until they had sort of what looked like it had been built by stacking the bricks really carefully. And if it was, if there were big spaces that were missing, they would sort of sometimes just shove an extra rock in wherever it needed to go and press it in. And that's how he built this building. So, in part because the castle was built in sections as they got the money between 1928 and 1941, and in part because he was not an architect by career choice, you have a lot of weird wasted spaces. So if you take a look down here, you can just see there's sort of a lot of interesting corners and areas that just don't seem to have a purpose or a lot of use. But that added to the castle's mystique. And then when Brandeis hired architect Archie Riskin to survey the castle for renovations, he found several sliding panels and secret passageways, and we'll never know if Smith designed these intentionally or if they were just the result of previous remodelings. Dr. Smith died in 1944, and that was just 2 years before Brandeis purchased the college and all of its properties. Altogether, John Smith spent a total of $750,000 of his own money to help build up Middlesex College and countless hours of his own free time.
Dr. Smith would have been proud to see the castle added to the National Registry of Historic Places in 1997 and featured on a commemorative stamp and postcard in 1998. But he would have been even more proud of the legacy the castle has had for Brandeis. I'd like to close this tour today with a remembrance of the castle taken from the yearbook of Brandeis's first graduating class in 1952. The castle, whose grotesque stone towers overlook the campus and can be seen from Waltham on a clear day and from South Street by the cars that pass, has become the symbol of the university. Pictured on postcards and catalogs, in newspapers and magazines, it identifies Brandeis. Despite its architectural limitations, we think of it affectionately. The castle was built from stones wrested from rocky soil and laboriously, if eccentrically, cemented into a unique stone structure that conformed to no known plan. That was unlike any other building, that spread out in many directions. And this too can be said of the university. And although when the master plan reaches fruition, the castle will be relegated to a peripheral position, it is for us, and has been for 4 years, the center of Brandeis society.